Appreciate the super chat there. Coffee Killer says, with the $5 says, just cuz, brother. Looking forward to the show tonight. Might get started a little bit late because got to deal with the kiddo for a second, but we're going to get on here soon. All right, what is going on, everyone? Hope you're having a great Saturday night. You're on here with WreckTalk. We are almost at 2,000 subs. I think we're at, what are we, 7 shy or something. Appreciate it. Let's go through the chat real quick. And let me catch my breath. Kids always like to act up when it's the least convenient for you. But you love them. All right, John Burns says, Jacket Nation, remember, winning ain't free. Send a check, even if it's only $100. We need 40,000 fans sending a check every quarter. That'd be $16 million annually. And he is correct. The math checks out on that. David says, what's up, Wrecker? Send my $1,000 check every January. Winning ain't free. Losing is. That's actually not correct. We spent $2 million a win when Jeff Collins was here. He won 9 games. I summed up all of his pay and his buyout. So for each one of the 9 wins, or 10 or whatever it was, I think it was 10 wins, we paid $2 million. Losses were cheaper, I guess. We had a lot of them. Those were probably like $250,000 a piece. T. Brant says, yo, good evening. Nico, member of the channel, says, sup. Coffee Killer in the house says, what's up? Harrison Chan says, everyone remember EA is trying to advertise their product with these rankings. There are more to get people talking about the product as a form of marketing. For sure. For sure. And everyone's talking about Colorado right now, including me, because it makes less than 0 cents what their rankings are. Turns out to be a top 10 offense. You don't need an offensive line. You just need a quarterback, and his daddy is the coach. Oh, me. Zach Jones in the house says, yeah, what's going on, Zach? What is going on, buddy? Good to see you in here. Bulldog JC says, I think Georgia Tech will be better this season, but I'm not reading that. I agree. Stan Garner, member of the channel, says, love me some Chris Weinke. I keep having to look up how to spell his name, too. It's just an E at the end, and it's an E before I. So it's Weike. But I have to look it up every time I forget. Porter Osborne in his house says, isn't there an N in Winky? Yeah, I can't spell the dude's name to save my life, man. As I just said. And I will concede that I'm an idiot. It's not the first time I've been proven to be an idiot. I'm all right with it. Mech says, not first. Wahoo Brad says, what were the people on EA Sports thinking when they ranked Colorado that high? As I said in the video, what they were thinking was Deion Sanders fans are the stupidest fans in the existence of fandom. And they'll look at that and they'll buy the $150 version. They're like, oh, yeah. That's what they were thinking. If I was EA, I would have done the same thing. Now, just to be honest with you. Cash in on their stupidity. Just milk those idiots for all of their money, the little bit they do have. Cesspool, nice name, says howdy. Who else do we got in here? Who haven't I recognized? Joe the Pilot says go Jackets. All right. We got a good show coming up tonight. Now, I do have an interview with running back commit J.P. Powell. No, he's not. He's not. Someone asked, I think, Nerdstop, if he's related to Clayton Powell-Lee. He is not. Running back commit out of, what is it? It's not Milton High School. But members can see it now. I think I've dropped that video Friday. The actual video for everyone is coming out Monday. Well, not the actual video, but the video. And we'll give you a little sneak peek into that right about now. That's not it. That's not it. Right about now.
We have connected as well as some of the other Fly Boys.
The Fly Boys. Tell us about the Fly Boys, because I'm a little bit out of the loop. Hope you enjoyed that. So that'll be dropping, I think, tomorrow at like 4:30. So be looking out for that. And I hadn't heard of the Flyboys before, so I don't want that on the screen yet. We need to go back to the other one. Let me get my show notes up here. So, if you haven't seen, yes, Chris Weinke did get a pay raise. Now, Buster Faulkner has gotten a raise. He's making $1 million a year now. I think that makes him the 21st overall paid offensive coordinator in the country, right in line with Florida's OC. And he will be making $1,050,000 if he stays for 2025. Now, that's important. I bring that up because paying, it is Miller County. It's Miller County High School. Is it like the city of Colquitt or something? I don't know. A more prepared YouTuber would know all that. I knew it when I interviewed him. But yeah, Weinke gets a $100,000 raise from $600,000 a year to $700,000 a year. That makes him the 25th highest paid quarterbacks coach. But here's the thing with that. Most OCs are also your quarterbacks coach. So if you take those out and just say, of all the people that aren't OCs that are quarterback coaches, that easily puts them in the top 5, if not the highest paid. That's where Charles Grant came out of. Where did he play? That must be back in the day. So yeah, I mean, and this is a move that we're planning for the future. So when you're an AD and a head coach, you can't just be thinking about this season. You got to be thinking about next season, 3 years out, 5 years out. If Georgia Tech's offense continues as they have, someone's going to hire Buster Faulkner. Now, we paid him the $1 million to keep him here, and I think that's a big step for Georgia Tech. That's not something I've really seen Georgia Tech do before, really throwing a lot of money around. Now, if you become a member of the channel, you'll learn about some other money we've been throwing around. But yeah, it's good stuff. And I think obviously Chris Weinke is our OC in waiting. So I think, if Georgia Tech has a good year this year and in 2025, I think either Buster will get top tier OC, Ohio State, LSU. As much as it pains me to say it, I'm sure he would go be the OC at Georgia if they just hate Mike Bobo, which they do. They fire him. Or he would take probably mid-level head coaching, like Power 4 head coaching job. Now, we know what he's not willing to do. He's not willing to be an OC at a place like Kentucky or Arkansas because he was offered that. He's not willing to be a head coach at a non-Power 4 school because he was offered the head coaching job at Middle Tennessee State. But I think, like I said, if we're successful, he'll get the opportunity he's looking for after 2025. Joe the Pilot says quarterback is the most important position on the field. You do not win without a quarterback. This is true for 99% of circumstances. Did I say UGA hated Mike Bobo? They do. Just wait until the season starts and go on any message board for Georgia, and I guarantee you half the comments are better will be complaining about Mike Bobo as they were last season. So, yeah, I did say that UGA hates Mike Bobo. They do for whatever reason. Single A has produced some of the best football players ever out of the state, says Porter. Herschel Walker, Champ Bailey, looks like a good player. Yeah, I think he is a good player. I am excited to see him on the flats. Got a little bit of depth at the running back room. All of a sudden for Tech, with like Jamal Haynes, Travion Cooley, Evan Dickinson, Anthony Carey. Now Isaiah Groves and J.P. Powell coming in with this class. But here's the thing. Well, we'll wait until we talk about the class. As a matter of fact, let's just talk about the class. So, like I said, I think Weinke, that raise was to keep him here to be the OC in waiting for if, in the event, Buster is poached. Now, 2025 recruiting rankings, Tech currently at 18th. And people have commented a good point, and they are right. So part of Tech being ranked, we were at 14, now we're at 18 on 247. Part of that is the number of recruits that we've signed. So if we were not to sign another recruit, this would not be a top 25 class, more than likely. So you're going to have to go land some more kids. There's other schools that have less, but they're going for bigger fish, and they will jump Georgia Tech. So this thing is far from over. We have lost out on a few kids. We were really going after Herbert Scruggins. He's an edge rusher. He ended up committing to Miami. You can really assume all of these recruiting battles. 90% of it is NIL. Bulldog JC says Georgia fans that hate Bobo are dumb. I agree, but you also have to agree that there are a loud, more than minority of Georgia fans that despise Bobo for whatever reason. I've never really understood it. So we lost out on Herbert Scruggins. He goes to Miami. I imagine they paid him more. And that's not me complaining. That's just the reality of recruiting today. And I was even talking with Papa Rec, and he was like, yeah, if a kid if it's all about the money, you kind of have to wonder. And there is some of that. Here's my thing. These kids are operating in the system that they exist in. So if whatever you do for a living, if the market dictates you get paid 3 times as much as you currently are, you're going to start demanding 3 times what you currently are. And if your current job doesn't pay that, you're going to go find a job that does. So I don't so much blame the kids. Now, some of it is silly. Some of it is the kids. But if you want to fix for this, you have to fix the system. You have to fix the system. Eventually, that's going to happen. Memphis actually just signed a kid. I want to say Georgia and several other SEC schools are going after. I forget his name. He's a high 4-star, probably borderline 5. Commits to Memphis. Now, if you don't know, one of Memphis's big donors, probably their biggest donor, has to be their biggest donor, is the owner of FedEx. So they just went and bought him. They just flat out went and bought the kid. And I think the more you see of that, the more you see of the big boys, the Alabamas, the LSUs, the Ohio States of the world, getting beat with NIL by smaller programs that have large donors, that is when you'll see the change start to come about with it. But for now, this is what it is. So no need to complain about it. We also lost out, speaking of Georgia, on Landon Roldan, wide receiver out of Athens. I don't know what high school he goes to. Is he Clark Central? I doubt it, because he was also getting recruited by Vandy. Forget what high school. Tech was really going after him. He commits to Georgia. Now, just looking at who's offered him, like Georgia Tech and Vandy, I have to assume he's super academically squared away, and that was a reason we were going after him. Obviously the talent as well, but we lose out on him. Here's the good news. And Key brought this up when he was hired from Alabama. They asked him about recruiting against Georgia Tech. And Key just flat out said, honestly, I haven't recruited against Georgia Tech in a long time, like coaching in the SEC. And like, that's got to change. So that we're going after some of these kids that Georgia's going after, even if we're not hitting on a lot of them, it tells you that the whole mentality of this program has changed. Key and Jay Batt, I think, are going to prove to be 2 really, really good hires for Georgia Tech. In fact, aside from Chris Weinke and Faulkner being poached, the other person that I'm worried about being poached is Jay Batt. We'll see with Stoudemire on the basketball side. Georgia Tech's 3rd in basketball recruiting right now in the country. If Batt hits on all these hires and gets Georgia Tech financially, which it looks like, again, become a member today, behind the scenes, he's doing all the right things. I could see someone trying to get Jay Batt too. Now, who have we hit on? Derry Norris. That's a big get for Georgia Tech. We go down to Florida. We get Derry Norris. He's out of Port Orange, Florida. 6'3", 265. He's listed as an edge rusher, but he kind of seems like a hybrid defensive tackle edge rusher, or usually, or not usually, it depends on the type of defensive scheme you run. But you'll have one edge rusher that's a little more athletic than the other. He runs a 4.6 40 though at 465 or at 265. Yeah, he's 465 pounds and runs a 4.3. No, he's 265, runs a 4.6. And we beat out Miami for him. And I have to assume that Tech paid him. I have to assume that was a big part of that if we're going against Miami to get him. We also get Cal Faulkner, wide receiver out of Dahlonega, Georgia. What is that, like 19 commits we have at the moment? I don't even know how many scholarships we have left to give. And I pray, please, are we out of the pandemic year stuff where now I can actually look at a kid's class and tell how many years of eligibility he has left? I think we are. But I digress. This channel is Georgia Tech channel. So look, people can laugh at Georgia Tech right now. And you might laugh at this. I think this year, and Georgia Tech has 6 ranked teams on their schedule. Okay, 20 commits. Georgia Tech is a team that if you are a very good team, you don't want to play next year, because they're going to be the kind of team that has the ability to beat the best teams in the country, but still rebuilding. So they also have could lose to Georgia State or Syracuse. You know, I don't think skip over Georgia Tech. A lot of people are high on Georgia Tech going to Ireland, playing Florida State. We'll see. I don't know what to think. I've always said, look, it comes down to, I see someone brings up Stantucci in the chat, comes down to the defense. Now, Tech has got some pieces on the defense. They got E.J. Lightsley at linebacker out of Georgia. Maybe one of the Georgia fans in the chat can tell me what they know about him. Jackson Hamilton out of Louisville. You got Kyle Effort that is an Athlon All-ACC linebacker. He was really the only linebacker on our defense last year that really got after it. We bring in Romello Height from USC. Huge get for Georgia Tech. You believe Key blows Georgia Tech recruits and most of them go elsewhere? Stop projecting what you do to get ahead in life to Key. Okay? I get you do that. That don't mean other people do. Okay? I don't want to be your therapist tonight, but I will serve that role if you need me to. We can break down your psyche real quick. We're going after edge rushers though. So we get Gore out of Miami, transferred out of Miami. That's a huge get. All I know is that Georgia Tech, well, it's a low bar, but they're going to be better defensively this year. I don't know how much, but they've got some guys that can play. Our secondary has never really been the problem. But like I said, you can only cover a guy for so long. We also, I think we talked about this last year, we pick up Cameron Cullins. We flip him from SMU. So we have 4 total defensive linemen in this class. Derry Norris, Cameron Cullins, we've talked about. They're kind of defensive tackles, even though one is listed as an edge rusher. And then Andre Fuller and Carrington Coombs. So I would have to assume going to the back end of this recruiting cycle, Tech is aggressively going to go after probably edge rushers first and foremost, but defensive linemen. That's where we're the weakest on defense, and that's where we need to recruit. And unfortunately, that's where we've recruited the poorest. All right. Who are we targeting? Obviously, Josh Petty, 5-star offensive tackle. Everyone who's in the know says he's going to Florida State. But again, none of this stuff is written in stone with the recruits. Even if they commit somewhere and play with the portal, it's not wasted time on a recruit. If you recruit him hard, he goes somewhere else. You might always get him in the portal. But everyone's saying he's going to Florida State. Cortez Smith, 4-star offensive tackle out of Parkview. And like I said, edge and defensive tackles. You're just repeating what Christian said about Kirby above rec. I don't even know what you're saying. I feel like Biden in that debate when I read what you say. Or I guess I feel like Trump. Like, I don't know what he just said. I don't think he knows what he just said. Anyway, now let's get to NCAA 25, because there's definitely some marketing going on here. So, what do we want to look at first? Let's first look at the top offenses. Now, if there is anything good about you actually think Georgia Tech might go 8-4 this season, then you're higher than me on them. If you think that, like I said, Georgia Tech's got 6 ranked teams on their schedule. Half of those are top 5 teams. Notre Dame, Georgia. Is Florida State top 5? I don't know. Who do we got? So who's ranked on our schedule? NC State, Miami will be ranked. Georgia, Notre Dame, Florida State, NC State. I might have said NC State twice. I might have missed one, but it's a brutal schedule. But look, what did Ric Flair say? You guess I can't read very well. Well, that's true. I don't read very well. Ric Flair said, to be the best, you got to beat the best. So I think if I had to say today, I'd probably pick 7-5. But let's look at these offensive power rankings. Now they've got Georgia listed at 1. I'm not Christian, but so I'm not just saying this. I don't think Georgia's the best offense in the country. I think they're a good offense. I don't know if they're the best though. But these make sense up here. I don't know what to expect with Alabama with a new coach. Obviously, they're very talented. Texas brings back their quarterback. In fact, Ohio State at 5, I think, is low. I know they've got a new quarterback coming in, but Ohio State is the most talented team in the just raw talent. They have more 4 stars or better than any team in the country. So I think 5 might be a little low for them there, especially at 89 overall. I don't agree with Miami. For me, Miami, again, if this is just pure talent, then maybe. If all that you look at to generate this ranking is talent, yeah, I think Miami's probably that talented. But when you look at 8, you know it's not just based on raw talent. Having Colorado ranked above Missouri and Clemson and Utah, Ole Miss, Kansas, like, that's insane. Only a Deion Sanders fan would think that makes a lick of sense. Oh, you're saying best case 8-4, worst case 6-6. I don't even think their worst case is 6-6. You know, you have injuries again on the defensive line. Tech could definitely miss a bowl. In fact, Tech, I think, could struggle to make a bowl on this schedule. SMU will surprise some. I get that SMU is a well-coached, good team. I don't know if they're the 20th best offense in the country, though. Now, I will say they got a lot of money backing them. For sure. I mean, what? They ponied up like $150 million and then another $100 million like that. So, but yeah, look, the only thing that Colorado has on offense is their quarterback. That's it. They don't have an offensive line. They don't recruit. Deion doesn't even make in-home recruiting visits. This is just marketing. And I didn't even know that these rankings will change throughout the season. So they'll kind of do like live updates as the season goes along to the game. So I said this in the Discord. Colorado's going to go from 89 overall to like 65. Colorado's going to implode this year. I mean, Colorado's schedule. Let's see, 2024 schedule. I should have it memorized. I've looked at it so many times. I could realistically see them losing to North Dakota State, but let's just say they win it. They could lose in Nebraska. They almost lost to Colorado State last year. I don't know much about Baylor. But I could honestly see them in their, let's see, how many games is this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. In their last 8 games, they've got 5 ranked teams. I could see them going 0 for 8 in their last 8 games. And I could see right here Deion absolutely imploding, the team just absolutely quitting. Like, anyone that thinks Colorado's going 8 and something is crazy. Their last win might come against Baylor. That might be their last win for the season. And yeah, you're right, Zach. I think they could lose to North Dakota State. Then what? Then what will all the Deion Sanders fans say? What are they going to say when they're like 3 wins or 4 wins on the schedule? Let's say he goes 4 and 8 again. Then what is the excuse going to be? They'll have one. Let's look at now. This is comically bad. This is comically bad. They've got Ohio State, the top ranked defense here. You know, I might switch these from the offensive rankings to defense. I might switch Georgia and Ohio State on these 2 lists. Is this animus towards Colorado going back to 1990? You mean when they had referees that couldn't count to 4? No, I actually, it's interesting you bring that up. I haven't thought about it. There's too much to focus on with what they're doing now for me to think about 1990. Neon Deion will be 3 years and done. Is Dan Lanning doing that much with the Oregon defense? I haven't really paid much attention to Oregon, but kind of surprising for me to see them here at 3, but I also don't doubt it. Clemson's always had a good defense. Like Notre Dame, Michigan has a very good defense. Now, I did say in the video, maybe Iowa lost a lot, but as far as points given up a game, they were 4th in the country last year. I think Iowa's probably pretty low on here. Now, offensively, they're absolutely horrible. Offensively, last year, they might have had one of the least productive offenses in the history of college football. Sucks we play Colorado in 2025. I pray Deion Sanders is still the coach. I'll go to Colorado. I was born in Colorado. Surprise if you didn't know that. Colorado Springs. I would love for Deion to still be the coach in 2025. Because as I said in the video, and you tell me in the chat, especially if you're not a Georgia Tech fan, like Colorado fans won't believe it, Georgia Tech is a better team at everywhere. Coaching, offense, defense, there's nothing Colorado is better at than Georgia Tech is. And that's not like the super highest bar either. You know, when the rumors of Deion being hired came out, I made a video saying, no, I'm not surprised, or like I'm not heartbroken or regretful we didn't hire Deion. I'm happy. Yeah, so there's 2 things. Obviously, Colorado at 20 is a troll. That's the stupidest thing I've ever seen. Like, that debate at McCamish Pavilion made more sense than Colorado at 20. For anyone that didn't watch the video I put out on this, do you know what Colorado's scoring defense was ranked in the country last season? 124th. Colorado had a worse defense last year than Georgia Tech did. And Georgia Tech had one of the worst defenses I've ever seen. Let that sink in. Yeah, Stanford. So they let Stanford score 40-plus points in the second half. It wouldn't be a surprise to me if Coach Prime quits his current position once his son goes to the NFL. That would be so dumb for him, because then they wouldn't have to pay his buyout. Like, I would just make them fire me if I was him. I mean, they're saying Colorado has a better defense than like Oak State, Louisville, Florida. They might have a better defense than North Carolina, though. Now, again, if this is just raw talent that goes into this, North Carolina might, talent-wise, have a top 23 defense. They're not even going to be in the top 50. They have one of the lowest paid Power 4 coordinators in the country in Jeff Collins. They went and got a bargain bin, awful DC that ran Georgia Tech into the ground with the stupidest things I've ever seen a coach do. Yeah, like North Carolina, like that's also marketing. There's a ton of North Carolina fans. Them at 23 is incredibly dumb. Like I said, they won't be in the top 50. They'll probably average giving up 28 or more points a game. Again, I'd like to see how they calculated this because this makes no sense. Let's look at the power rankings. So they got Georgia at 1, Ohio State 2, Oregon. Man, is Oregon like a legit contender? They're top 5 in everything. The fact that the PFF is what EA used tells you all you need to know. There's no way they only use PFF. There's no way they only use that. If they only use that, then how is Colorado the 16th, power ranked team in the country? How are they the 20th ranked defense? There's no way that they just use PFF. Miami at 13. Until Miami actually wins something, I will never give Miami any credit. Until Miami can prove they have a coach that knows what to do with the lead, with the game in the bag, I'm never going to put any faith in Miami. Let me ask you this. What is different about Miami this year than the past 20? What is different? Nothing. Nothing is different. They've got Cam Ward. Well, last year they were telling me Van Dyke was the second coming of Jesus. There's nothing different. Nothing different. If I were to put Miami on this list, I'd put them between 20 and 25. Virginia Tech at 20, I don't think I've heard anyone that's down on Virginia Tech this year. And for good reason. They finished the season strong last year. They got some things going. I agree with having them at 20. Interesting, though, at USC at 19. You could convince me that's too low, and you could also convince me that's too high. I don't know what to think about USC. I know that they're pretty disgruntled with Lincoln Riley at the moment. USC is an enigma, though. We need the WreckTalk algorithm to fix this mess. I don't know why I said that with a lisp. Well, I can tell you this. The WreckTalk algorithm wouldn't have Colorado on any of these lists. That's for sure. Who else on here might not make sense? Texas at 5, I get. Texas has to have a brutal schedule this year. Let's look at Texas' schedule. Because I know they play Georgia. Or I'm pretty sure they play Georgia. Dang, they got Michigan. They got a non-con Michigan. So their non-con is 3 kind of nobodies in Michigan. All right, Mississippi State. Oklahoma, they play every year. Georgia, they get those 2 games at home at least. In fact, their first 3 SEC games are at home, which is nice. Then they got to go on the road at Vandy. That's not bad. Florida at home. I also don't know what to think about Florida. You could also convince me that Florida is more than what people think they are. You could also convince me they're less than what people think they are. I don't know what to think about Florida and Billy Napier. It's not a good look when a kid you recruited is suing you. But I don't know what to think about that either. Arkansas is down as well. They got them on the road. Kentucky is a tough out. Kentucky is a team in the SEC that can bite you if you're at the top of the heap. I mean, hell, they bet Louisville. Louisville can't beat them to save their lives. Hadn't Kentucky won like 6 in a row against Louisville or something like that? Texas A&M, I also don't know what to think about this year. Don't they have Bobby Petrino? as their OC. What does Bobby Petrino have to do to just be unhireable? Like, it's insane. Let me ask you guys this. What about LSU? I kind of agree with LSU being at 8. They came out of the gate strong, made an SEC title appearance, stepped back last year. What do they do this year? I guess it depends on their schedule, right? Look at their schedule. They've got USC, Nichols, nobody at South Carolina, UCLA. UCLA could be kind of a tough game. They should win that one, though. Ole Miss. So they got Ole Miss, Texas A&M, Arkansas, Alabama, Oklahoma. Yeah, they got a tough schedule, too. They got a tough one, too. You think LSU and Ole Miss would swap places? Are you that high on Ole Miss? Look, LSU's quarterback Newsomeyer is going to be good. Yeah, and Kelly's a quarterback's guy, so I could see that. Petrino's at Arkansas now. Yeah, he was at A&M. That's right. Will probably be interim head coach once Pittman is inevitably fired midseason. I'm rooting for Arkansas this year because I like Pittman. I know he coached at Georgia. I know he's our O-line coach, but everything I've seen about that guy, he's genuine. I want it to work out for Pittman. Like, it would be such like an ethical crime if Pittman is fired and they make Petrino their head coach, especially since he wrecked his motorcycle with a mistress while he was the head coach at Arkansas years ago. Again, what does he have to do to even one single school before they're like, hey, we just can't have this? Napier sacked and Faulkner is Florida's next head coach. Faulkner at Florida could be scary. Yeah. I have to assume he's a good recruiter. He's done well at Tech thus far. And if you're an analyst, I don't think you can be involved in recruiting. Pittman likes a cold beer after a win. Well, he's a man after my own heart then. Zach Jones says, I'm guessing the top 10 ACC will be Clemson, FSU, Miami, Virginia Tech, NC State, Louisville, UNC, Georgia Tech, SMU, Syracuse. Hell, SMU and Syracuse might be above Georgia Tech. I don't know about that. I know people are high on Syracuse. They got Ohio State's quarterback. They get Fran Brown as their head coach out of Georgia. He's never coached a game, though. And I don't see him, they'll be better this year. And to be fair, Georgia Tech could barely beat Syracuse last year when they had a tight end playing quarterback. That's how bad Georgia Tech's defense was. But I just don't see them being like a 7-win or better team in the first year. Especially if their schedule is kind of tough. Let me look at Syracuse schedule. They get Georgia Tech early, Stanford, Holy Cross, UNLV, NC State, at Pitt, Virginia Tech. At least they get Virginia Tech at home, at Boston College, at Cal, UConn, and then Miami at home. Does every team in the ACC other than Georgia Tech have an advantageous schedule? Maybe Virginia has a tough one. Like, the only good team in the ACC we don't play is Clemson. And then our non-con is Georgia State, VMI, but then you get Notre Dame, Georgia. So, half of our non-con are top 5. Going to be a tough out. Syracuse has an extremely easy schedule. I wouldn't say it's extremely easy. I mean, maybe I would. They've got two top 25 teams on their schedule. But I also think Virginia Tech will finish the year ranked. I don't know what to think about Pitt. Like, what is it, Pat Narduzzi? Is he done? They made an AC, or they won an ACC title. And then they haven't really done much since. Also, Can anyone tell me what's going on with Arizona? I see a lot of people high on Arizona out of the Big 12. I don't follow Arizona. I've seen some rankings having them in the top 15 though. Also, let's check out Tech. Let's check out Tech in the game.
Order the MVP bundle today.
I don't know about you guys. That gets my juices flowing. I'm so pumped. As I've told you, I took off the first 2 days of early access. I'll probably stream that game. I might stream that game 8 hours a day for the first 2 days. If you didn't know, Monday is when the Dynasty mode, like informational video, comes out. And that's going to be the most important thing, because that's really all I care about is Dynasty. Now, I have said if you're a member of the channel, we'll do an online Dynasty for members first. There is a caveat to that, though. They have not confirmed that Dynasty is crossplay, so we'll find that out Monday. But I have a PS5 because I picked the correct console to play on. So unfortunately, if you don't have a PS5 and it's not crossplay, then won't be able to do that. But if you do, and or it's crossplay, then you can take this ass whooping from Rec Online, I guess. We'll get C-Dog in there too. I gotta redo my setup just for that. Joe the Pilot says, I don't think Key leaves Tech, but his name will definitely be coming up for some jobs this year. I don't think Key leaves Tech, period. Like, I'm sure there's an amount, but like, Key is Georgia Tech through and through. If Key wasn't 100% in on Tech, he would have left under Jeff Collins, like Tashard Choice did. And that's not me throwing shade at Tashard Choice. I would have quit under Jeff Collins. I'm saying the fact that he stayed, was the interim, like, to me, that says it would take a stupid amount of money to pull him out of Georgia Tech. Todd says, I watched the spring game again today from Tech. Little concerned about King. Yeah, here's the thing. You can't judge a quarterback on one throw. I know what you're saying. He threw a pick. The thing with that pick is he threw it flat. He needed to put a little air under it. He could have completed that pass, but linebacker got under. I think it was the nickel that stepped under it. He's never leaving until he told to. I tend to think that. Now, people that aren't Tech fans wouldn't agree, but I don't see Key leaving Tech to take another job. I just don't. I mean, Key, you know what Key is making this year? It's somewhere between 2.8 and 3 million. 2.8 and 3 million a year, which is sickening because when Collins was fired, he made 3.3. Now, Key's contract would do the same thing and he'll rise to make 3.5 or something. It averages 3 million over the 5 years. So 15 million 5 years. And I think right now, Key's not pushing for more money because he knows that his staff has to get paid. Like, if Buster or Weinke leave this year, we're screwed for this recruiting class. We'll go from top 25 to like 50th if we lose one of those two. Maybe not Weinke as much, but definitely Faulkner. That's why it was so important we paid him. So I think Key's like, hey, don't worry about me. Let's get the staff paid and let's get this thing rolling. You know, we'll worry about my pay later. Now, there will come a time, like if Key goes 7 wins or better on this schedule and then goes, 8 wins, like if he progresses every year and has Tech competing for the conference and or a borderline playoff team, the Tech's going to need to pay him and pay him accordingly. I mean, he's got to be one of the lowest paid Power 4 coaches in the country right now. I think he might be the lowest paid ACC coach. He's in his mid-40s. I could see him staying for a while and retiring here. Another school offered him a coaching job. That's true. UAB offered him when he was at coaching under O'Leary at Central Florida. Jeff was on a podcast a few days ago. Will say Tech's name, says former school, and pretty much. Okay, I'm glad you brought that up. So let me show you guys something. I'm sure you've seen the Twitter post. If you haven't, we'll look at it now. Look, like, this tells you how awful of a coach this guy is. So C-Dog was telling me that, like, this is how petty Jeff Collins is. That Collins retweeted like some anti-Brave stuff. Like, that's how much he despises Georgia Tech. Like, any Atlanta team he also hates. I was like, oh, well, let me go check it out. Then I see this. And I'm pretty sure I haven't tweeted anything against Collins. The only thing is that I might have tweeted was about the spring game. What I'm getting at is I do think he watches my videos. You might think that's grandiose thinking. That's how big his ego is and how dumb he is. He blocked me, which I can't tell you how soft that is. First of all, that he would take time to block me tells you everything you're going to need to know about North Carolina's defense this year. All right. So then I get surprised, and I took one of the rare pauses. We'll see you, Zach. Because Taylor Bennett commented. He commented twice, actually. He commented down here somewhere, and then he commented this, like, what did he ever do to you? And then he also said, like, he's gone, get over it. Okay, that wasn't Taylor Bennett. Does anyone in the chat know who Taylor Bennett is? I'll give you a hint. He played quarterback at Georgia Tech. He played quarterback at Georgia Tech when Reggie Ball was academically ineligible to play for the bowl game his senior year. That's the guy that's the quarterback, left-hander, that stepped in, threw like 300 yards, most of it to Calvin Johnson. He transferred to Louisiana Tech once Paul took over and became a senator or something, or a state representative in Louisiana. But I don't understand this comment, especially from a guy that played at Georgia Tech. What did he ever do to me? Well, I don't know. Porter, I can't see what he said about the Braves because he blocked me. So go to Collins' profile. Now, I will say, even if you've never tweeted something about Jeff Collins, you might be blocked. He just like blocks thousands and thousands of people because he has a small wiener and he can't handle even the smallest form of criticism. He probably doesn't have you blocked, though, because he likes sniffing Kirby's jockstrap. So if you're a Georgia fan, he probably is cool with you. But what did Collins do to me? I don't know. How much money did I spend on Georgia Tech stuff and going to games to watch that loser destroy one of the few things in life that I derive joy from? What did he do to me? He made like 4 years of my life awful. Not fun. He took one of the few things in life I enjoy and made it shitty. That's what he did to me. I mean, I would assume as a former Tech player that he would understand that. I don't know. Is he the Democratic mayor of Brookhaven? I don't know. Let's go see. Radical centrist. That seems like an oxymoron. I don't want to get into that, but anyways. Cookie Monster? Former ADL board. Well, he doesn't have it listed in the 40 things here. But anyways. I mean, if you're a North Carolina fan, just look at that. Okay, Stan Garner says it was a Philly account boasting about their lead in the division. Collins retweeted it. Now, you might say, oh, well, Collins coached at Temple, and that's why. I don't think that's why, though. He was there, like not that long. You think he still has love for Temple enough to tweet that? No, that's how stupid and petty he is. First of all, who would ever leave the house looking like that? Like, if I didn't know who Jeff Collins was, you could convince me he's developmentally delayed based on this picture. I'd be like, you know what? Now that you say that, that totally makes sense. Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you how immature he is. He's less mature than me, and that's hard to do. I'm one of the pettiest sons of guns out there, and he's got me beat. He's got the Chunks haircut from the Goonies. Yeah, he looks like Eggman from Sonic. Like, it looks like he should be in like What's Eating Gilbert Grape as one of like Leonardo DiCaprio's friends. It looks like he glued each hair on his head individually. Yeah, after he let his dog like wipe his ass on his hair or something. And then he was like, yeah, this is totally fine. Also, Philly knows the Braves are running them down. The Braves are inevitable. But all I'm saying is this, why would you be tweeting about Philadelphia and the Braves? I don't know. I think he needs to do a podcast. This is this is my favorite thing that Christopher Jenkins posted. One of us. I was surprised I hadn't been blocked sooner, just based on the amount of hate that I have for him and I vocalized. But yeah. I mean, look at all these people. Literally every Tech fan says they've been blocked by this guy. Every one of them. And then they even give proof. There's Todd, I'm pretty sure. I don't know anyone else that has that logo. So yeah. I guess he won't be accepting my cage match offer. Now, a lot of people have been asking me about the North Carolina game. Let me switch screens here. A lot of people have been asking me about the North Carolina game. I did look, because someone's like, why don't we get like a party bus or something? Here's the thing. I did look into that because I am a grandiose thinker. It would cost so much money that it makes no sense, though. Like I would have to charge people like $1,200 a piece, or like between $900 and $1,200 a piece, and then you'd still have to buy your tickets. And you'd still have to have a place to stay. So it just financially makes no sense. Joe the pilot said he could fly one person, but surprise, I'm too fat to fly on his airplane. I don't think he meant it this way, but pretty much what he said is if I flew with him, like after takeoff, the plane would just shoot him the bird and crash and say F you for putting that fat that fat dude in the seat beside you. This is what I do plan to do. What's going on, Braden? Whoever lives the northmost. Now, Papa Rec lives up in the north part of the state. We'll meet with whoever wants to go that lives the most north in the state. And we'll meet somewhere around there. And we'll have a convoy. And I'm going to make shirts. And the shirts are going to say high-level hecklers. And if Collins is an on-the-field DC coach, I will buy a block of tickets right behind wherever that idiot stands on the field. And he's going to know we're there. He's going to know it. And we're going to make his life miserable for however many minutes that game goes on. It's going to be hard to make him as miserable as Key is when he absolutely embarrasses him. And Tech might have more. How many offensive yards did we have last year? 600? I mean, we had 350 yards rushing, and most of that came in the second half. Yeah, but they're a top 25 defense, though, right? So yeah, we'll do that. Now, how that'll work as we get closer, I'll put the information out. If you want to go, I'll put the price out to get the tickets. You'll give that to my PayPal. I'll buy them and give them to you and provide them for you, whatever. I'll buy them and we'll all sit together. So that's how that'll work out. I'm also going to Syracuse. I have a friend that lives in New York. Those would be the 2 road games I go to. As always, I go to 2 road games a year. Last year I went to Ole Miss and Clemson. So hopefully I have a better road record this year than last year. I was 0 for last year. I wonder if Collins will shake hands with Key before the game. Negative. Okay, Parker looked it up, or he just knew because it was such an embarrassing number. We had 635 total yards against UNC last year. And you think, first of all, Georgia Tech's offense is better this year than it was last year. You think we're not going to do at least that this year? And North Carolina could be undefeated going into that game. North Carolina's schedule is softer than Jeff Collins is. Now, I don't know. I could see them losing to Miami on the road. They're evidently scared of not Miami, Minnesota on the road. They blacked out their spring game because they're scared of Minnesota. But yeah, I would love them to be undefeated again coming in. And I'd love to beat them the 4th time in the row. And I know they're scared of Georgia Tech. You know why? We don't play North Carolina again for like 4 years after this. They don't want this smoke. They don't want this heat. They don't want a grown-ass man coach coming up there into Chapel Hill and beating their ass into the ground, which is what's going to happen. There's no amount of money I wouldn't put on us to win that game. It's just what it is. Just like, facts are Colorado fans' kryptonite, facts are North Carolina fans' kryptonite. The same thing with Miami is true for them. Talent has never been North Carolina's issue. Their defense always has talented players that size queen Jeff Collins just drools over, and it's never made a difference. North Carolina always has a first-round quarterback. It's never mattered. North Carolina hasn't won the conference since 1980. So, yeah, they're going to be awful this year. Last thing before we get off tonight, I will be doing an ACC show on the College Huddle. Now, let me drop a link for that channel. And what my vision for it is to be more like a debate style show. We talk about different topics in the ACC, and I'll just talk a ton of shit about North Carolina and Miami. Hopefully, my goal is to make people so mad they just quit the show, and I have trouble getting people on. That's my plan. So I've committed to doing that for them. Here's a link for that channel. You can go and subscribe here. And also, if you're not subscribed to WreckTalk, go ahead and give Wreck a subscribe. We're 4 subscribers away from 2,000. And I would love to satiate my ego tonight. In fact, I use that sometimes when I argue with my ex-wife. I'll be like, no one cares what you have to say, but people care what I have to say, and I have the numbers to support it. And she has nothing to say to that. So help me grow my ego even more. Giants Sally Day. Hello, I hate North Carolina. As Bulldog JC pointed out, I can't read, as I've demonstrated now. Who are you a fan of? Giants all day 24. Are you a Syracuse fan? If you're in New York, is that New York Giants? Yeah, no one hates North Carolina more than me. And it's not even hate now. It's almost turning into apathy. Like, we just beat them into the ground every year, 3 in a row, with less talent, with way less talent. There's not, a year that we've beat North Carolina in this 3-year stretch that they weren't a good deal more talented than us. And as I've said, Mac Brown, I do think it is a greater than 80% probability Mac Brown retires after this year. And I would love it. Please, Jesus, let them make Jeff Collins their head coach. There's nothing that would make me happier. than to have them make Jeff Collins their head coach, and they go 3-9 for the next 3 years. San Francisco Giants. Yeah, I'm an idiot. You had orange in there. Not the New York Giants, San Francisco Giants. I got Duke in college basketball. I was glad the baseball team choked too. Makes sense. Joe the Pilot says he's going to Biloxi on Wednesday. Do put an over bet on Tech. Tech's at 5.5. Now, I've only made one bet in my college football career. In my football betting career, I've made one bet. I won it. And that was against Slum. And I guess that was technically taking the over on Tech at 4.5 last year. But no, the bet was we had to make a bowler better. Smack Brown will never retire. How old is he? Who is older, Mac Brown or Biden? It's not clear to me at the moment. Who is more intelligible? Also not clear to me at the moment. A pool noodling. Oh, that's what we'll do, guys. When we go to North Carolina, if they allow it. Now, some of the security at games has gotten dumb, but if they let us bring in pool noodles, well, sometimes people do that and then they like hit it on their hand or their leg or something. We'll bring pool noodles. We'll bring pool noodles up to North Carolina. That'll be great. Do you hate the Georgia? What's the rivalry called between the Dogs and the Yellow? It's called clean old-fashioned hate. I hate them far more than they hate me, probably for the same reason that North Carolina hates me, or North Carolina fans hate me more than I hate them. We haven't had a good record against Georgia as of late. But yeah, I don't like Georgia. I will say this, there are some Georgia fans I get along with though. The better ones come to this show, like Porter and Bulldog JC and stuff. Mac Brown is just a sweet old man. He has no fire for the game anymore. Remember when like Crayfish gave us the notes of the spring game, and like he basically said Mac Brown was calling the game like an announcer? Like, does that not sound like dementia patient? Not even trolling. Like, that's bizarre. That's bizarre. So they black out their spring game. They have Mac Brown announcing it like he's a color commentator. And then like he didn't know the mic was on, and evidently he said like, man, can we be more physical? I can answer that for Mac Brown. No, because Jeff Collins coaches your defense, and physicality is only something he likes with dudes in the bedroom. So you're not going to see it on the football field. I loved him, Joe the Pilot. Anyways, guys, that's going to be a wrap for me tonight. I'm going to get some rest. I'm getting kind of a summer cold. I get one like every year. When you have kids, it's hard to stay well. They're always bringing something home. So I'm going to get some rest. You guys do the same. I appreciate everyone for showing up. I appreciate the members who make all this happen.